Hello, friends. The river drifts alongside a cluster of mud brick homes, their courtyards alive with chatter. Women here are not silent shadows. They are pillars of the household, shapers of community, and keepers of tradition. In the Vedic world, their lives were woven from threads of duty, wisdom, and, when fortune allowed, choice. A woman's day began before the sun yawned awake. Grinding grain, tending fires, fetching water, churning curds. These were the rhythms of survival. Yet beyond these chores, women were also custodians of ritual. In some families, they recited hymns beside their husbands, tending the sacred fire. The Rig Veda even sings of women who composed verses: Lopamudra, Gargi, Maitreyi, names that defy the image of women as mere spectators in spiritual life. Marriage in the Vedic period was as much about alliance as affection. A father's duty was to marry his daughter into a good family, ensuring social ties and mutual benefit. There were arranged matches, yes, but also the Swayamvara, where a woman could choose her husband, sometimes by skill contests, sometimes simply by preference. In such gatherings, a garland placed around the neck was a choice as binding as any vow. Women's freedoms, however, were not uniform. In wealthy, noble households, a woman might oversee servants, engage in debates, or manage estates while her husband was away at war or trade. In rural homes, she worked shoulder to shoulder with men in the fields. And among nomadic or wandering tribes, women bore the double load of child-rearing and helping transport the camp, their resilience as unshakable as the oxen that pulled the carts. Education for women existed, but varied. The learned Gargi once challenged the great Yajnavalkya in open debate, a scene immortalized in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. But for most, education was practical: how to run a household, make medicines, weave cloth, and pass down oral traditions. These teachings, unrecorded in palm leaves, flowed through the generations like quiet streams that shaped the land. Their clothing reflected status and region. Saris draped simply for work, adorned with beads and bangles for festivals. Hair was often oiled and braided, sometimes decorated with flowers. And in the cool evenings, they joined the community around fires, telling stories, singing hymns, or simply listening, preserving memory in the oldest library of all, the human mind. But life was not without shadows. Widows could face restrictions, their place in society uncertain. Wealthy households sometimes treated women as property in inheritance disputes. Social norms tightened over centuries, narrowing freedoms once more open. Yet the hymns and stories remind us that the Vedic woman was never just a figure in the background. She was voice, presence, and power, even in a world that often measured her by her household. As the river carries me past these villages, I notice a group of women weaving mats beneath a neem tree. Their laughter threads between the reeds like warp and weft, an art form in itself, turning necessity into beauty. And it strikes me that in this world, creativity was not confined to poets and priests. It bloomed in the hands of those who shaped clay, carved wood, or spun wool into comfort. And that, my friends, will take us into our next journey, where we step into the workshops and markets of the Vedic Age to see how art and craft brought color and life to the everyday.